All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome along to the coverage of the Mexican Grand Prix. We are here for qualifying. Qualifying will be, we'll have the green light for Q1 in 30 minutes time, or 29 minutes to be exact. We've already got 600 people tuned into live stream, which is fantastic. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Apologies for missing for FP2 and FP3. However, my throat is feeling better now after missing the commentary a little bit. So yeah, 3 hours less of talking for me, and my throat's doing much better. So I should be fine to carry on at a normal volume for today and for tomorrow as well. Yeah. So, if we go through what happened in free practice 1 and free practice 2, well, free practice 1, I of course commentated that. There were quite a few rookies. In fact, I think we had 5 rookies: Kimi Antonelli, Robert Schwartzman, Pato O'Ward, Felipe Drogovic, and there's one more rookie that I'm missing. Oh yeah, Oliver Behrman. Those drivers all stepped in for free practice 1. Everyone had a fairly decent free practice 1 except Oliver Behrman and Alex Albon. Albon getting into a crash, Behrman was being at the wrong place at the wrong time, ended up getting his car damaged as well, and didn't get many laps in free practice 1. Then in free practice 2, we had a Pirelli tyre test. So Pirelli brought out the set of tyres that they're developing for next year, and they wanted to gather some information, how the cars handle the tyres, how much grip do they have, how much load goes through the tyres, etc, etc, etc. And so we had free practice 2 extended by half an hour, and the drivers and the teams just drove around on the Pirelli test tyres, gathered a bunch of information. We did have the odd incident here and there. I think Verstappen was struggling with engine issues for a little bit. Verstappen was struggling with engine issues in FP1. He was struggling in FP2 as well with engine issues. The team finally did resolve that, and they switched back to an old engine. There was some issue with the engine intake, and that has caused that was causing Verstappen's issues in FP1. Right. Let's see. Trisha, thank God you're back. I had to spend FP2 and 3 with another stream. The host, who I won't name, would not pronounce Colapinto's name correctly and had the worst live chat. Don't leave us again. Well, yeah, I mean, you can definitely name them. There's only about two or three people that do F1 commentary. There's Racing Statistics. I think there's Stuffy. And that's about it in terms of people who do their own original commentary. How is 37 degrees Celsius affecting tyre wear? Well, in fact, it's lower than normal. I think yesterday we had 19 degrees air temperature, but much higher track temperatures at 45 degrees. So the lower track temperature will be helping the tyre wear situation, reducing tyre degradation, and the driver should not have too big of an issue pushing in all 3 sectors of the lap. We saw yesterday... I think it was Tsunoda and Sainz. Both drivers compromised their first sectors just a little bit, and because of that, they were able to push very hard in the final sector and still had a little bit more margin to overheat their tyres before they closed out the lap. And because of that, Sainz and Tsunoda had qualified very, very well. Well, they didn't qualify very well, but they had set a very good lap time in the practice session. So that was an issue for yesterday when track temperatures was 45 degrees. Now it's down to 36, so a little bit less of an issue for the drivers. Yeah. Why do you think Leclerc finished only in B6? Probably because maybe he wasn't hooking his laps up properly. Maybe there were some mistakes. I didn't watch free practice 3, just to be totally honest with you guys. So I don't know exactly what's happened. I've just read up. I've read up the summary of what's happened. So yeah. Max changed his engine, that is correct. Did Albon get his car repaired? Yes, he did. The same thing can be said for George Russell. He had quite a big crash in FP2. That also got resolved. So, yeah. I think both drivers got away penalty-free. Let me just double-check that. Yeah, George Russell has got a new chassis, but no power unit damage, no gearbox damage, so he's going to be totally fine. The Mercedes mechanics broke the curfew. They worked overnight to get George Russell's cars fixed, and it was repaired in time, so that's fine. Alex Albon also had his car put back together, and another power unit was fixed and was fitted to the car for the rest of the weekend for Alex Albon, but no penalty was given because it was within the existing pool of engines that he already had without, that he's allowed. So no issues there for Alex Albon. And Max Verstappen, he had an engine change because there was some issues with the air intake on his current engine. So they sort of reverted back to an older power unit. So maybe slightly less horsepower for Max Verstappen, but I think it'll be very insignificant. These engines are very, very reliable, and the difference in horsepower that we see between a fresh engine and a brand new engine is a lot less significant than it previously was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Are there any grid penalties? I don't think there are any grid penalties. I will double check that, but don't think there are any grid penalties. What time is it in the UK? Where are you at? In the moment, it must be late. Well, it's only 9:30 in the UK, so it's not really that not bad. 9:30 p.m. I know. I think someone commented actually on yesterday's stream that they in India it's I think another 5 hours or something like that ahead. So it's gonna be 2 a.m. for them, which is not ideal. But yeah, I mean this is the way the time zones go. Formula One is a mainly European-based sport, where quite a lot of the viewers come from Europe, so they adjust the time zones accordingly. But yeah, it's not very fair to be honest, because there are so many viewers in Asia, there are so many viewers in America as well. F1 Gamer, hands down, you're the best streamer. Glad to hear your voice is better. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, no, my voice is definitely doing a lot better than before. I mean, I added it up last weekend for the sprint weekend. I did 6.5 hours of commentary in total. So yeah, I mean, talking for 6.5 hours over the course of 2-3 days really does take a toll on your throat. And on top of that, I was a little ill, so yeah, doesn't really help. But nearly now back to normal, so I should be fine for tomorrow. No, it's 9:30 a.m. in New Zealand. Well, nice morning race for you on a Sunday morning. Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about Lando and Quali? Well, if we look at the FP3 timings, McLaren seem to be 3/10 ahead of everyone else. McLaren have brought floor upgrades this weekend. They are meant to be a pretty significant change to the floor. Things look like they're working well. However, we do not know exactly what fuel loads all of the other teams were running, what fuel loads McLaren were running, whether the other teams were using downforce or were using DRS or not, because we may have seen, Charles Leclerc 7/10 back. The teams may have just, because they want to hide Leclerc's pace, they may have just told him, oh yeah, don't use DRS in the final zone, and that totally screws up your lap time. So the teams play these kind of tricks. We haven't seen them being played too often in recent times, but with the competition toughening up and everyone getting closer and closer in terms of race pace and quali pace, these tricks might be coming out soon enough. 6 hours talking for 2 days. God forbid you go into teaching, you'll die. Yeah, well, of course teachers do a lot of talking, but of course they get used to it. And same thing for me. I've built up my throat has sort of built up a tolerance, my throat and my voice. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I was a teacher, then all of that talking would also build up a bit of a tolerance. Anyway, yeah, it's 2 in the night in India. Great fun to watch you, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, hope you get some good sleep after the stream finishes, yeah. Alright, so what else have we got to talk about? Of course, the Mercedes, they have gone slightly under the radar here. George Russell having a bit of a crash yesterday, and I think going into the weekend as well, he said that the Mercedes don't have the pace to be fighting right at the top of the pack, and their pace has kind of evaporated a little bit. Maybe we'll see them have a little bit of a resurgence because their race pace is looking. The race pace looks all right, but once they can get the setup perfect on their car, then that is going to significantly help them out. and we saw they had a lot of issues like getting the setup into the perfect window over the course of this season, over the course of last season as well. And since they brought a massive upgrade package in Austin, they are once again going to have to go through that process of optimizing the setup and getting it into its best possible condition before they can extract all of the pace from the car. The Mercedes car seems very, very sensitive to its setup changes, whereas some of the cars aren't as sensitive. But yeah. Right, perhaps you should get some stronger water. That might help your voice out. I don't know what you mean exactly by stronger water. But I do drink a lot of water, so yeah. What position do you think Hamilton will finish? Well, I would say somewhere in the top 5, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Hamilton had a bad race last weekend, having a crash, I think, on lap number 3 or lap number 4. And his qualifying game has not been as strong as normal. Right, what is the popular tyre strategy for this race? 1 stop, 2 stop, or 3? It's going to be between a 1 and 2 stop. Quite often in Mexico, there is, one team will go for a 1 stop, the other team will go for a 2 stop, and we'll see sort of a battle where the drivers converge in the final couple of laps of the race. So yeah, it's very borderline here in Mexico, and it will most likely depend on track temperature. If it's super hot tomorrow and track temperature up in the 50-degree range, then we'll probably see a 2-stop. If track temperature's within the 30-degree range, then maybe just a 1-stop. And if it's 40-degree range, then it's going to be very close between both of them. Yeah. Let's see. Is there any possibility of Yuki replacing Checo next season? Well, Honda have been applying a lot of pressure to Red Bull, saying that, they should give Yuki Tsunoda the seat. And, looking at Yuki Tsunoda's performances over the previous couple of years, he has been performing quite well, and Perez hasn't been performing that well, so Tsunoda would be the logical choice. However, there's a lot of internal politics going on in Formula One. So yeah, I mean, Tsunoda would be the optimal driver to make the step up into Red Bull. He's got enough experience in Formula One. Some people are talking about promoting Lawson, and he's going to have 5 races to the end of this season, and past that, he's really not got that much experience in driving these cars, and how the tires work, and all of these other things related to Formula One. So it would be optimal to put Tsunoda in. However, yeah, there are internal politics going on at Red Bull, and that might be preventing the most optimal choice being made. All right. What else? Barca winning 3-0 to Madrid. Well, that's good news. I don't know. Yeah, why not? Barca. I guess I support Lionel Messi a little bit more than. I mean, Messi's not at Barca, and neither's Ronaldo at Madrid. But anyway, how about we get back to Formula One? If we have a look at the constructor standings, Ferrari are 8 points behind Red Bull. They are ever so close, and I think this weekend might be the one where they just jump ahead of Red Bull and go into second place in the constructor standings. That would be a sight to behold. I mean, Max Verstappen still leading the Drivers' Championship on a car that may be the third slowest on paper. The Ferrari looked very quick last weekend. It was quite clear that the McLaren was quicker than the Red Bull last weekend. However, Norris couldn't make that pass, and Red Bull was most certainly the third fastest car last weekend. But Verstappen is still leading the Drivers' Championship for now. So things are going well. Things are going well for Verstappen. Yeah. Which tyres are recommended? I mean, today's qualifying, folks. It's as it says on the screen. Qualifying starts in 15 minutes. The stream is also titled QUALI, so for qualifying, the soft tyres are most likely recommended. It'd be stupid to use any other tyre, really. Can we expect Sauber getting points by the end of the season? No. I'm going to be totally honest there. Given how competitive the top of the pack is, the top 4 teams, they have basically sealed off the top 8 positions in the top 10. So the rest of the teams have really only got to fight for 9th and 8th position, 9th and 10th position. If there's a DNF up at the top, like there was last weekend, then 7th, 8th, and 10th is up for grabs. 7th, 8th, and 9th is up. 8th, 9th, and 10th is up for grabs. But yeah, it's unlikely. The Saubers aren't looking all that quick. Bottas has put in a good lap in FP3, but yeah, I don't think that's going to last once they get into quali, and they'll probably be the first team to get eliminated. Right. Did you say your predictions for who you think is going to get pole? No, I did not, but I think it's going to be one of the McLaren drivers. And you know what? I'm going to hedge my bets on Oscar Piastri. Rather than going for Lando Norris, I think Piastri is going to be the one that is going to get pole position today, just going based off the fact that in FP3 that he was quicker than Norris. We'll have to wait and find out. Also, down this main straight, one thing that is going to be very key, that could be very key to getting pole position, is getting a toe. You know, down this enormous straight, we've seen quite often the drivers who do get a toe will gain maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths at max. If they get a fantastic toe down the entire length of the straight, and well, yeah, we'll have to see if any teams can set that up. If they are going to set that up, I think we saw it last weekend. It was Tsunoda got given a toe by Lawson because Lawson had a grid penalty anyway, and he was going to start at the back of the pack, so he might as well just give his teammate a toe. And Lawson gave Tsunoda a toe last weekend. We may see the McLarens, on the first lap of Q3, Piastri gives Norris a toe. On the second lap of Q3, Norris gives Piastri a toe. Or maybe they're not going to play any sort of games like this, and they're just going to say, oh, we'll just do maximum attack as long as possible. And do you think Alonso could have a go at the championship in 2025 or 26 with Adrian Newey joining Aston Martin? Well, thank you for the question. And 2025 is very unlikely. If you guys have a little bit of a look into the details, Adrian Newey is not starting to work at Red Bull until not starting to work at Aston Martin until the 1st of March. So that essentially means that the 1st of March the season has already begun at that point. I think pre-season testing has just been completed at the 1st of March. So essentially, Adrian Newey will join and start working at the Aston Martin team just after pre-season practice, which means he will not have any sort of impact on the 2025 car for Aston Martin. Maybe he'll have a little look over the planned upgrades, but Adrian Newey's main focus will be optimizing the 2026 car as much as he possibly can and making it as quick as possible. So 2026 is an option to potentially win the championship. However, 2025 is very, very unlikely. Right. What do you think about Lando's penalty thingy? I mean, I think it was. See, this was the thing. It's a bit of a grey area. However, I'm still going to stand by what I said, I think, last weekend. And I said last weekend that it was not exactly Lando's fault. It's not exactly Verstappen's fault. It's more of a problem within the FIA's stewarding system. The way they need to do things is, firstly, not have decisions decided getting 4 laps after the crash has happened or whatever, or the overtake has happened. They need to immediately get over the radio to the teams and say, that overtake was not fair. You need to give back the position, or you're going to get a 5-second time penalty. And if they do that, then there'd be no issues whatsoever. If the FIA were allowed to come over the radio and say, give the position back, or you're getting a 5-second time penalty, that would be the most fair situation to do. The fairest thing to do in that scenario. Yes, Norris did push Verstappen. Verstappen did sort of leave Norris no space, and Norris did overtake him on the outside of the circuit. Both things are valid. So in that situation, you want to say Verstappen's done something wrong, Norris has also done something wrong. If you go back into the positions you were before, then no penalties will be given out, and that's how the race should go on. But for some reason, the FIA are allowed to give 5-second time penalties, 10-second time penalties, stop-go penalties, all of these things, but they aren't allowed to say switch positions, otherwise you get a penalty, because I think that would be the most optimal way about going about these sort of things. And until that gets implemented, we're going to continue seeing these stupid decisions happen. And yeah. F1 Gamer, do you actually game? I occasionally game. When I play the F1 2021 game. I don't actually have any of the newer games because they're made by EA, and I don't particularly like EA. They make terrible games anyway. So yeah, and the 2021 game is pretty nice. So I play that, and I've got a steering wheel and pedal set for that, but not too much gaming, to be honest. Yeah. All right, we've got how many? 2,700 people tuned in. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please be sure to do so. We are 8 minutes away from the start of qualifying, and this is going to be a very exciting one. Everyone is so close together, and we're going to have some fantastic racing. Well, some fantastic qualifying. MCG, how's your study going? Things are going all right, really. Had a first couple of weeks of university. The deadlines are starting to come through, but everything is going nicely as kind of expected, really. Yeah. You should get Assetto Corsa. Yeah, I do actually have Assetto Corsa. I think I've got it on Steam. I've played it quite a bit. However, my laptop isn't that good, so and my steering wheel and pedal set is not with me at university. It's back at home. So yeah. Oh, you got an advert. Sorry about that. Let me just disable adverts. There we go. All right. No, you guys should not be getting any more adverts during the live stream. I've just disabled them from my side. All right. It's kind of ignorant to say every EA game is bad. Yeah, well, the ones that I'm talking about, the Formula One games, and probably also the FIFA games, because they just make the same game every year and then put a new £50 or $50 price tag on it. So, anyway. What wheel do you have? I think I have the Thrustmaster TXM Pro or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I got it secondhand and it was a fantastic deal. So I'm very happy about that. Do you think Williams should consider dropping Albon and give Colapinto a chance with Sainz next year? Well, see, this is the thing. Albon has made one mistake. He's not been that slow. Colapinto has shown, good signs, and he's done fantastically as a rookie, given that he's had no previous experience in Formula One, jumping into a couple of races, doing fantastically. However, it's a little too early to be jumping the gun and saying, oh, let's drop Albon and get Colapinto in, because, Albon's made one mistake. It wasn't 100% his fault. Behrman was kind of there on the racing line, adding a little bit to the dirty air, and then Albon goes into the barrier. So, yeah, that's the thing, really. Albon's a pretty good driver, and I think that Albon and Sainz are very experienced, both of them, and they'll be great to sort of lead the Williams team and give them some good development areas to improve the car, because in the end it's the drivers saying, oh, I need a little bit more front downforce so then I can push throughout all of the different corners on the lap, and then Williams will develop the front downforce and develop a new front wing or something. And if if the drivers are correct in their thinking and they know where the upgrades need to be put on the car, then the car will get significantly faster. Whereas if the drivers say, oh, we need more rear downforce, when in reality they need a suspension change on the front, sure, the car will get quicker, but it'll get quicker in very marginal ways. Whereas when you want the big leaps forward in performance, like McLaren have seen this year, like Ferrari have seen this year, you do need experienced drivers sort of leading the development, or you need very experienced engineers to be able to understand what the drivers are talking about and sort of portray that and convey that to the designers and the mechanics and things like that. So. No, I think Albon and Sainz should be good for Williams, and Albon will get some real competition, like some experience, a good baseline. We know Sainz is quick, so if Albon can consistently, compete with him, then we know that Albon is also a quick driver. For the recent couple of times, he's been with Sardi, he's been with Colapinto. They're kind of unknowns, and Albon looks really good in that sort of light, but maybe Sainz is going to show up at Williams and totally destroy Albon. We don't really know, but I have a feeling it will be close. Albon is not that slow of a driver. Right, do you think Behrman and Antonelli will be good next year? I think, yeah, Behrman has shown really good signs given the fact he's raced 2 times, done fantastically in both of them. I think Behrman should be good. Antonelli, however, I'm not as sure with. So we'll see. And Antonelli's going to be right up there at one of the top teams as well. So it's going to be a lot harder for him to... Well, he's going to be in the spotlight a lot more, and he's going to have a lot more pressure on him. So we'll see how he deals with that. All right, though, folks, we are 3 minutes away from the start of qualifying. Let me just get rid of the free practice data there. There we go. Rid of the free practice data. We have got the qualifying data up on the screen. Track temperature has increased now. It's up to 45 degrees, and air temperature also. And we'll have the drivers coming out onto the circuit very, very shortly. Franco is said to be good with technical feedback. Okay, well, this is interesting. I mean, if he is good with technical feedback, then that would just be one extra bonus point for him to try and get a seat. Maybe he'll be considered for the Audi seats, Audi/Sauber seat for next year. But who knows? All right, so here we are at Mexico City at this fantastic race circuit. It is a total 4.3 kilometers, one of the shorter circuits, in fact, on the calendar. We're going to be doing around 70 laps of racing here tomorrow. And because it is one of the shorter calendars on the shorter race circuits on the calendar, traffic is going to be a very big issue in Q1. 20 drivers on a 4.3 kilometer long circuit, especially because the middle sector, it is totally single file. You do not want to be, even anywhere near anyone as they on a hot lap through the middle sector. So coming down the main straight, the drivers, is very easy to get out of the way. However, through the middle sector and through the stadium section, it's very, very tricky and tough. So we'll maybe see some grid penalties being dished out because of that. But there's going to be a lot of radio messages on the right-hand side of the screen just saying, oh, Russell is 5 seconds behind you. Magnussen is 2 seconds behind you. Watch out. Okay. Here we go then, folks. We've got, what's this, 4,000, yeah, 200 people watching the live stream. If you haven't hit the like button, folks, be sure to do so. Massively helps out the channel. I'm going to get rid of this timer here on the right-hand side of the screen, and we should be underway for quali momentarily. All right. All of the drivers sat in the garage, sat in their cars, ready to go for some qualifying. Very, very nice. Okay. Here we go then. What else have we? What else have I missed and forgot to talk about? Not that much. I mean, we've just got to see what Liam Lawson can do. I mean, last weekend he was very good against Yuki Tsunoda, very comparable to him. And if he can replicate that this weekend, then that would be fantastic. I don't think he's raced at the Mexico Grand Prix circuit before. He will have done a lot of time on the simulator to get prepared for it. However, I don't think he has raced here before, which will be interesting, and we'll see how good he is on a circuit that he hasn't had much practice at before. Oh, Here we are in quali, and nobody's actually made their way out onto the circuit yet. The timer hasn't started ticking. Right, there we go. Ooh. We've got a couple of drivers making their way out now. I've just reset that timer, so we've got a little bit more synced up with what the race that I'm watching. There we go. All right, Bottas, Stroll, Ocon, Joe, all of them coming out. Track evolution is going to be key here, folks. Given that we had quite a few red flags in FP1 and FP2, there hasn't been as much rubbering in as there normally is on the circuit, and that means when all 20 of the drivers make their way out onto the track, we are going to see a lot of rubbering in happen, and the final couple of laps in Q1, Q2, and Q3 will be the fastest and with the most optimal track conditions. Yeah. Okay. What is rubbering in? Okay, so rubbering in is essentially what happens is, the Ferraris are coming out on mediums. I don't know why they're doing that. It's probably because it will give them some more fresh soft tyres for later on in the qualifying session. But yeah, Ferraris are out the mediums. And rubbering in is essentially what happens is as the tyres drive around the circuit, well, not as the tyres, as the drivers drive around the circuit, what that does is pieces of rubber come off the tyre and they sort of get entrenched and squished into the circuit. So maybe if you see a circuit that is very often used very very often, what you quite often see is that there are rubber marks on the racing line, and all of those rubber marks are just pieces of rubber that have been squished into the track. And the theory is, and not the theory, what practically happens is rubber touching rubber has more grip than rubber touching asphalt. So when the surface is a lot more rubbered in than normal, there's a lot of rubber and rubber touching rather than rubber and asphalt touching, and it gives the drivers more grip, and because of that they can drive quicker, and then you'll see the lap times tumble. So yeah. All right. Um, but here we go. We got the Mercedes also out on medium tires. Interesting here. I mean, I guess they are concerned about not using too many sets of softs. Given this circuit is quite a short lap, the drivers can actually get away with doing 3 Q1 runs in three hot laps in Q1, and still coming into the pits each time. So because the teams can get away with that, I think that's why. I think that's why we're seeing the Ferraris and the Mercs being out on mediums. Yeah. All right, but we've got Sergio Perez here on a hot lap. Let's go on board with Sergio Perez. He makes his way through turn number 2, 3, and 4. Gets a fantastic exit. The car ever so twitchy as he gets onto the throttle, coming now down towards turn number 5. Piastri gets out of the way. DRS wide open for Sergio Perez. Slams onto the brakes. The DRS flap slams shut also, and now he makes his way towards turn number 6. The double apex corner hits that first apex nicely. Hits the second apex nicely as well. Onto the power he goes. Shifts up through the gears, taps the brakes, flicks the car into the left, now to the right, and once again to the left, and that car is looking planted to the ground at the hands of Sergio Perez, bouncing over the curbs, but you've got to go over the curbs, otherwise you lose so much lap time. And now through the final DRS zone, onto the brakes at turn number 12. He's got a bit of runoff there. He does not need to use it whatsoever. And now through the stadium section, you hear the roar of the fans as Sergio Perez makes his way through there. Out the final corner he goes, misses the wall on the outside, short run to the line now, and it's across the line for Sergio Perez, and it's 7th position. He is 1 second down from Carlos Sainz, who's done his lap on medium tyres. What is going on here? I think, I don't know how that's happened, really. I mean, he must have not been pushing as hard. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But yeah, are the McLarens on mediums or are they on softs? It says that they're on softs. However, I'm watching the onboard and it looks like Norris is on mediums. And he comes across the line and he goes 2/10 quicker than Carlos Sainz. Very nice there from Lando Norris, and it looks like he is on medium tyres. I don't know why the data's saying it's on softs. We do have the occasional couple of hiccups there, and it should correct itself by the time he makes his way around the next lap. Okay. All right, Russell goes across the line, 4th place for him. He's done that on medium tyres also. And yes, I would just like to confirm, I've just watched the onboard shot, the outboard shot of Piastri and Norris. Both drivers are out on medium tyres. I don't know why the data is incorrectly reporting that. Piastri nearly a second down on Norris here. I don't know if he's not attacking as hard or if he made a mistake, but a significant gap there between teammates. I mean, Piastri was half a tenth quicker in FP3, but Norris has really turned it up at the start of quali here. All right. Piastri. Oh, we've just got a replay here. Piastri, as he now heads towards, he was heading towards turn number 5. And let's have a look at this mistake. Yeah, just a little bit of a lock-up, misses the apex. And because it's a sequence of corners, if you mess up the first one, you mess up the second and the third one. So yeah, that can easily be rectified by Oscar Piastri. And yeah. Let's have a look at that. Max Verstappen, set of soft tyres, purple in the first sector. That car is looking rapid as now he makes his way towards turn number 11 and well within track limits there for Max. He opens the DRS flap. No slipstream from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's out of the way, but Verstappen 2/10 up on Norris's time going through the second sector line. He's just got the stadium section left to go now, and the car rotating very nicely for him. He is having to apply quite a bit of steering lock, but the car looking a lot better than it has in previous weekends, and he comes across the line 2/10 quicker than Norris. Sets basically an identical third sector time as him, but Norris was on the mediums. So it's interesting because the soft tyres will definitely start to overheat by the time you get to the final sector, whereas the medium tyres probably don't overheat as much, but nonetheless, both drivers managing to set pretty much identical final sector times. But yeah, purple in all 3 sectors there for Max Verstappen, and he goes up into first place. Right. Fernando Alonso, he is now on his second flying lap. He's already done one flying lap. That put him in 9th position. He was 1.1 seconds down from Verstappen. But we've now got Alonso starting his second flying lap. He gets a bit of... Actually, no, he doesn't even get any tow from Ocon. Ocon's on the other side of the race circuit. But Alonso now makes his way through turns number 1, 2, and 3, hits those apexes nicely, goes and accelerates over the curb, but gets good enough traction regardless, and modifies his brake bias a little bit as now he heads towards turn number 5. He's 2/10 down on Verstappen already. Very late downshifts there from Alonso. He's trying to keep the car under control in the final stages of braking, so he's shifting all of his downshifts right to the end of the braking zone to just add a bit more stability at the rear end. Now going through the middle sector, the car is very, very... the car's very quick through the middle sector, and... Stroll, in fact, his teammate goes up into 4th place. Alonso, he is improving as well. He's only 2/10 down, 2.5 down on Verstappen's time as Carlos Sainz sets a purple first sector. Very nicely done for Carlos Sainz, but Alonso hits that apex for the stadium section. The car looking a little slow, not rotating as much as he would like, but he gets onto the power for the final corner and now comes across the line, and it is 3rd place for Fernando Alonso. Great lap. And he's only 3/10 back from Max Verstappen. All right, we've got Kevin Magnussen currently in 18th position, not yet to set a lap, but he's got a couple purple mini sectors, and he's across the line in 7th place. Great job there by K-Mag. And now we've got Charles Leclerc. He improves 7th place for him. We don't know which tyre, and in fact we're having a little bit of issues here with the tyre information. We don't know exactly which tyres everyone's using, and that's why we've got quite a few question marks going on. But I'm sure that will get resolved in time for Q2. And Sainz goes across the line, and he's up into third place. Tsunoda's now up into third place. Great lap by Tsunoda. He's done that on a set of soft tyres. And now we've got Nico Hülkenberg currently in 20th position, but a couple of purple mini sectors for him. Second place for Nico Hülkenberg. Fantastic job. 2/10 back from Max Verstappen. And just looking at those lap times from Hülkenberg and Tsunoda, I have a little inkling feeling that Verstappen wasn't pushing too hard. And yeah. Alright, Lawson across the line, that is 7th place for him, and the gap between himself and Tsunoda is 3/10 of a second. That is to be expected given that Lawson hasn't raced at this circuit before. But yeah, pretty good for his second race in Formula 1. The times are going to drop hugely. Yeah, oh, look at that. Gasly up into second place. The track evolution is really ramping up, folks. Track evolution is ramping up. Verstappen didn't push that hard on his first lap. It's very evident of that. George Russell currently in the elimination zone. So is Lewis Hamilton. Both drivers did do their laps on medium tyres, though, originally. Now it is soft tyres for both drivers. And, well, Russell's on his lap now. Let's see what he can do. He's got that DRS wide open, does not make the mistake like Piastri going into turn number 5. No lockups for Russell, and he's only a 10th down on Verstappen's first sector time. Very, very nice indeed. As he makes his way through turn number 6, there's going to be no traffic for him whatsoever going into the middle sector. And he's got these high-speed S's now to deal with, where he did have a fairly big impact yesterday, but he makes his way through nicely today. He'll be a little bit cautious of the crash that he had, but that will slowly, that will slowly improve, and his confidence will improve, and he'll start attacking really, really hard. In fact, he has started attacking very, very hard already. He's half a second up on Verstappen through the middle sector. Took huge, huge chunks of time out of Verstappen in the middle sector, even though he had a crash yesterday. George Russell is right back at it, and how has he done that? He's had a horrible final sector and has lost all the time that he was up. Yeah, see, this is the thing. You push too hard in the middle sector, your tyres overheat, and through the final sector, you do not have enough grip. Your car just does not rotate. You put full steering lock, and the car just doesn't turn. So this is difficult. That's what I was saying. 41 degrees track temperature, and Russell is having significant issues rotating the car in the final sector because he pushed so hard in the middle sector. Yeah. Also, he was on a set of soft tires. He was definitely not on a set of mediums. So I don't know what the data is talking about today, but yeah. All right. Also, folks, we've got nearly 10,000 people watching. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please be sure to do so. Hopefully, we can get 1,000 likes. Piastri purple through the middle sector. He now makes his way through the final sector. Now we'll have to keep an eye out on Piastri. Does he go slower than he normally would in the final sector? We're seeing quite a few yellow mini sectors there for Piastri in the final sector, and it's only 13th place. He was purple in the middle sector. That quickly got taken away by Norris. But if you push too hard in the middle sector, your tyres evaporate. They disappear. They melt into non-existence. And you either make a mistake in the third sector, or you have no grip, or somehow, like Lando Norris, you crawl around on your outlap. You go so slowly that your tyres are actually under temperature before you start your hot lap. They're too cold, and by the time you reach the final corner, you still have enough grip, and you go up into first position, half a second ahead of Max Verstappen. Wow, very nice. Piastri here is really at risk. In fact, Piastri got a lap time deleted. He made a mistake at turn number 12, exceeded track limits because he had pushed so hard in the middle sector, and yeah, Piastri, he's going to have to make it back into the pits ASAP. He's going to have to get a new set of tyres, some more fuel into his car, and then head out immediately. Otherwise, well, he's going to get knocked out of Q1. Yeah, so Piastri got a lap time deleted at turn number 12, and essentially the curb at turn number 12 is quite high, so his car just mounted the curb, and he sort of just rode the curb for around about 5-10 meters, and because of that, for those 5-10 meters, he couldn't get enough traction, and yeah, that ruined his final sector. Okay. You've jinxed Piastri by plucking him for pole. Well, he's still got one more lap to do, folks. So let's let's rein it in a little bit. We'll see what Piastri can do. But yeah, I think the commentator's curse is. I think I've done that 1 or 2 times. But what can I do? Yeah. All right. Max Verstappen 348 kilometers per hour going down the main straight speed trap. Very, very quick indeed in that Red Bull. And Charles Leclerc even quicker, 350 k's through the speed trap. I think he got a little toe off Ocon when he did that, but regardless, very quick through the speed traps for Leclerc as well. Ooh, apologies for that. Leclerc on a flying lap here, and he's in 15th position. He's at risk of getting eliminated. So is Oscar Piastri. Both drivers are going to have to pick up the pace. In fact, Piastri is on a hot lap, but he's doing this on an old set of tyres. He does have a little bit more fuel in this car, but an old set of tyres is not going to help him whatsoever, and we may see Piastri actually get eliminated. It depends, does he abort the lap, and does he come into the pits? Because if he doesn't abort, he's not going to have enough time to make it in, and 14th position for Piastri. This is going to be so close. I don't know why McLaren didn't pull him into the pits earlier, but Perez, 15th place for him. Oh no, Perez as well. Also at risk of getting eliminated at his home race. Leclerc across the line puts himself up into 3rd. Perez, and is that it for Perez? Is he on another flying lap? Does he have enough fuel in his tyres? Does he have enough fuel? Does he have enough tyres? I'm not sure. Magnussen improves up into 4th, and Piastri and Perez, with 1 minute left to go of the session, are in the elimination zone. Piastri's on 4-lap-old soft tyres. That's not going to be enough to make it through to do another lap. He doesn't have enough fuel in his car either. For Perez, he is on fresh tyres, I think. However, I don't think the data is particularly accurate today. Sainz across the line, 2nd place for him. And this could be a shock double elimination in Q1 for the top team drivers, Piastri and Perez. This is going to be big. And maybe Piastri has enough fuel in his car, but it does not look like it. I mean, normally, why would they send him out with 3 hot laps worth of fuel? Normally, they do 1 hot lap worth of fuel. Sometimes they do 2 hot laps worth of fuel, but 3 hot laps worth of fuel is unheard of. And yeah, they've just come over the radio. Okay, so we've boxed this lap, Oscar. We've been knocked out, I'm afraid. That is it. That's confirmed, folks. Oscar Piastri is out. Sergio Perez is also into the pits. He is also out. And the drivers in the elimination zone are Franco Colapinto, Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon. Oh, in fact, Ocon's on a hot lap. Let's not count him out. Ocon, he improves, but not enough to get out of the elimination zone. Ocon gets eliminated, and Guan Yu Zhou does as well. Wow. All right. Yeah, I predicted Piastri for pole. He's now ended up knocked out of Q1. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was a bit of commentator's curse. Yeah, Liam Lawson having some issues with the warm-up procedure for his tyres. That's not optimal, really. AlphaTauri or Racing Bulls haven't been having the best strategy all season long, and they really need to sort that out because Lawson was having no rear grip going into turn number 1, which is not ideal. We have hit our light target, so let me just set that up to a little bit higher. We might as well set that up to 2,500 likes. Why not? There we go. Thank you everyone for tuning in. By the way, we've got 12,000 people tuned in. That is fantastic. I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. This has been quite an eventful Q1. We've got Piastri and Perez eliminated. Colapinto as well. I mean, Albon was in 9th place, Colapinto in 16th. But look at that pace difference. Only 4 tenths between 9th and 16th place. And if you look at it between 5th position of K-Mag and all the way down to 10th position, so the top of 5, from 5th position to 10th position, 6 drivers are within 1/10 of a second there. It is extremely close up in the top 10. And, the one corner, one little mistake that you make is going to cost you ever so dearly. And it has cost Perez and Piastri ever so dearly. Piastri got a lap time deleted. It wasn't a quick lap by any stretch of the imagination, but that mistake at turn number 12 really did cost him. And Perez also, I suspect he made a mistake, because there was no way that he's that slow. At least I hope not. Bottas does make it through into Q2, yes. I think it's Sauber have had the most Q1 eliminations out of any team this season. It's not really a surprise, they are the slowest car, but Bottas makes it through into 14th place. Fantastic. Also, the Mercs as well, only 10th and 11th for them. I don't know where their pace has gone. They brought an upgrade package last weekend. Unless it's a downgrade package, this pace makes absolutely no sense for the Mercs team, for the Mercs. And I mean, it could be a downgrade package. If the CFD and the real life doesn't match up perfectly, then the car, the aerodynamics and the flow around the car could be a lot worse than they expect, and it could result in a reduction of pace. So we'll have to wait and see. Right, Piastri, he did get a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits. However, that lap still wouldn't have been quick enough to get him through into Q1. The issue was the lap time that he got deleted was he was purple in the middle sector. He was like half a second up. He was going to be right up there with Norris. However, he broke just a little bit too late at turn number 12, mounted the curb, and that curb loses all, once you're on top of that curb, you have no grip whatsoever in terms of getting any traction out of that corner. And because of that, you lose out hugely. Right. I think we're watching the onboards here for Perez. I think Perez just had a little loss of rhythm as he went through the stadium section, and he was unable to control the car to its most optimal. And because of that, just loss of rhythm going through the final couple of corners, and they're all in a sequence of corners essentially. You mess up one, you mess up the rest of them. So unfortunate there for Perez. Also, folks, we do have a Q2 beginning in how long? In a matter of 30 seconds or so. So yeah, Q2. In fact, there we go. We've just had the bottom 5 eliminated. KO is for knocked out, and we'll have Q2 beginning shortly. All right. Perez doing his best at his home Grand Prix. Yeah, very unfortunate for Perez. He looks, he looks quite depressed, and rightfully so. Admittedly, he hasn't got the fastest car on the grid anymore. He's got more like the third fastest car on the grid, but he is at his home Grand Prix with so many Mexican fans supporting him, and he's in second to last position, which is not great. All right. Here we go. Then Q2 should be getting underway momentarily. Oh, the speed trap is there, but we can't fully see it. Yeah, the speed trap is there on the right-hand side. However, once all the sector times come through, it gets shifted off to the right-hand side of the screen. I won't be able to fit all of the speed traps onto the screen. Otherwise, everything will get far too small, and people who are on their phones won't be able to read it. I will let you know on what the speed traps are looking like, but everyone is within 345 kilometers an hour to 350. It's pretty similar downforce levels for everyone, because Mexico is a very specific niche circuit, and there is this one optimal downforce level. There's no like, oh, we'll have slightly more downforce and we'll go slower down the straights. You just can't afford to do that at this circuit. But you also can't afford to go slightly lower on the downforce, because through the middle sector you'll just lose heaps of time. So we are seeing basically everyone within 345 to 350 kilometers per hour as they go down the main straight. Here we go. Q2 has begun. Alex Albon, the first driver out onto the circuit. Yeah, very nice. Verstappen makes his way out of the pit lane as well. Right, I'm going to have a quick sip of water to make sure my throat doesn't die. And yeah. F1 Gamer, what is the significance of the speed trap? Just to measure the pace when entering the straight. Yeah, it's just measuring the top speed of the car as they go down the main straight, just to give a bit of an insight on, has anyone got a little bit more top speed? Has anyone got a little bit more cornering speed? Yeah, that's its sole purpose, really. Right, the Ferraris are also making their way out onto the circuit. Very nice. So here we go. Everyone out on a set of soft tyres. Verstappen's out on a used set of soft tyres, just in case. Well, you might as well have a used set of tyres, because no harm done, really. It's the first run of Q2. And yeah. Simon Partridge, can lines be added to the circuits and map to show the start and end of sector 1, 2, and 3? I can't do that right now. However, I will probably get that done for next weekend, or next weekend or this weekend or for tomorrow. If I can get it done, then I will add in the times. All right. F1 Gamer, is a oversteery car better at such high altitudes? I don't think it's anything really high altitude specific. In theory, an oversteery car is quicker than an understeery car. However, in theory and in practice are two totally different things, because the oversteery car is a lot harder to control. So we've seen the quickest drivers like Verstappen, like Schumacher, like Senna. They all do have a slightly oversteery car, and the slightly steery, they prefer their car to be slightly oversteery. However, there are other drivers who don't like it to be slightly oversteery, and they are still as quick. Hamilton, Vettel, I can't actually think of any more, but that's just because I forgot. There are still more drivers that do prefer an understeery car, and it's not really is an oversteery car quicker or is an understeery car quicker. It's just what's most optimal for the driver. So for Verstappen, it is most optimal to have an oversteery car. He really loves a car that's super pointy, whereas Hamilton prefers a car that's a little bit more understeery than it is oversteery, and that's just how he is quickest and most comfortable. So yeah, that is. There's no sort of high altitude specific setup. Yeah, the teams just have to be a little bit more careful with the cooling. I think Ferrari have brought a lot more vents to their engine cover this weekend, and they've brought quite a few. Their brake ducts as well. They're probably one of the biggest brake ducts that you see all season long, because the air is thin. They do have to account for that, and they have to have bigger brake ducts, bigger engine intakes, everything like that. Okay. Right, MCG, a pointy car is easier to correct if you misjudge a corner. An understeery car sends you straight off if you get it wrong. Yeah, well, that is true, but then you can also say if you apply the throttle a little bit too early on a oversteer your car, you totally lose it, and you crash. Whereas if you apply the throttle slightly earlier on an understeery car, there's not too big of an impact. So there are advantages and disadvantages. Verstappen going through the middle sector, saying the rear tyres were a little tricky in sector 2, and the mechanics ask him the engineers ask him what does that mean, and he says low grip. The car just sliding around. As he got over the curbs a little bit, Charles Leclerc had a bit of a moment as well on his flying lap, and that explains why he is half a second down on his teammate. Had quite a bit of oversteer, which he had to correct as he was going through turn number 10. So, yeah. That's what happened with Charles, and that's why he's 6/10 off the pace. That's what I'm saying. One tiny little mistake through the middle sector or through the final sector, because they're all a sequence of corners. See, Mexico is long straights and then a sequence of corners, long straights, sequence of corners. So turn number 1, 2, and 3. If you mess up turn number 1, you've messed up turn number 2 and 3. If you mess up turn number 4, then you've messed up turn number 4, 5, and 6. If you mess up turn number 7, you mess up 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if you mess up turn number 12, you mess up 12, 13, 14, 15. So the mistakes and the effect of you making a mistake are super amplified at the circuit, because, at another circuit, say like Spa, you can make one mistake at one corner and it's sort of isolated to that one corner, and then you can set yourself up and be totally fine in the rest of them. Whereas in Mexico, because it's a sequence of corners and you need a good rhythm going through all of them, one mistake can catastrophically ruin your lap, just like we saw with Charles Leclerc and just like we saw with Piastri. He made a mistake going through turn number 12, catastrophically ruined his final sector, and he's out of Q1. Same thing for Perez, made a mistake in the final sector. The car just wasn't rotating as ideally as he should have needed it to rotate, and out of Q1. F1 Gamer, in this track, since taking a curb disturbs the car a lot, but if taken correctly, it can reduce lap time. Does it mean a better balance but slower car is better? Well, yes. Well, I don't know, really. Does it mean a better balanced but slower car is better? Yeah, I guess a car that has the ability to take curbs is better. So yeah, this is this is kind of what the teams do by default. They can lower the ride height, and lowering the ride height does make the car quicker, especially because so much of the downforce is generated by ground effect. But none of the teams make this choice, because if you lower the ride height too much, you just lose so much time bouncing over the curbs. You have no grip whatsoever. It's every single team makes that choice to say, oh, we're going to increase the ride height a little bit and make the car more stable over the curbs. And that's why I was a little flustered by the question. But Norris, purple in the first sector, purple in the second sector, purple in the third sector. He goes 0.3 quicker than Max Verstappen. I have a feeling we are going for a two-way fight for pole. Norris versus Verstappen, and the rest of the drivers will be fighting for the scraps, really. Hamilton across the line, 4th place for him. The Mercs have picked up their pace a little bit, but they are still 0.6 off Lando Norris. The McLaren is looking extremely quick, and those upgrades seem to have worked well for McLaren. Yeah. Charles Leclerc with a lap time deleted, exceeded track limits at turn number 2, and because of that, he has got a lap time deleted and he goes back down into 15th position. Alright, F1 Gamer, why is Leclerc coming out of the pits so late? I mean, Leclerc's currently in the pits, but it's totally up to the teams. It's up to their run plan. If they go out super late, they have more optimal track conditions. If they go out super early, there's less chance of getting your lap disrupted by a yellow flag. We saw just the replay here of Charles Leclerc. He just jumped over the curbs a little bit too much for the steward's liking. He's cut the corner probably by an extra 30 centimeters or so, and because of that, got his lap time deleted. Alright, Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Albon all coming into the pits now, and I have a feeling Norris, Russell, and Hamilton probably won't be going out. Actually, Russell and Hamilton might be going out But Norris and Verstappen are definitely going to sit in the pits. There's no need for them to go out once again. They might just go out just to get a bit of a feel and get ready for Q3. Yeah. What are the three stats columns on the right? They are the mini sectors. They tell you if the driver has gone purple or if they've gone better than their personal best or slower than their personal best on the previous lap. And the blue means they're coming in or out the pit lane. So as you can see, Verstappen's just come out the pit lane, so he's got a couple of blue mini sectors there at the start, and then yellow in the first two mini sectors after that. And you know they're yellow because he's on an out lap. It's slower than his hot lap, and because of that, it's slower than his personal best. F1 Gamer, sorry for the horrible wording in the previous question. I meant increasing the balance by having a higher downforce but less speed on the straights. No, none of the teams really do that. Because this circuit has got so many straights that you can't afford to have more downforce on the car and lose that time. You can, however, have a slightly increased ride height that will make your cars stable over the curbs and not compromise you too much in terms of downforce. Yeah. Alright, we've got 12,000 people watching. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I very much do appreciate all the support. If you haven't hit the like button, please be sure to do so. If we could hit 2,500 likes, that would be mind-blowing. But yeah, here we are. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remain of Q2. And we have got Verstappen, Albon, Leclerc and Sainz currently out on the circuit. Verstappen's out on a fresh set of tyres as well, by the looks of it, so we could see him try to challenge Lando Norris. And that's going to be exciting for sure. All right. So here we go then. We have got Albon. He set his hot lap there. 5th position for Alex Albon, a very nice lap indeed. In that Williams, Williams has a history of being very slippery in a straight line, and a fantastic job from Alex Albon. If he can make it through into Q3, that would be sensational. However, that is going to be pretty tough given given that everyone else is also very, very quick this weekend. Yeah, we'll wait and see. We shall wait and see what. They already used the full aero package. Due to the air density, they cannot add more downforce for the race. Yeah, that is also very true. Even if the teams did want to add more downforce, it's actually interesting because the air density is so low at Mexico. The teams actually use the Monaco spec rear wings and Monaco spec front wings on such a high-speed circuit, and it doesn't matter because the drag penalty is actually so small. Because the air is so thin. So the teams are grasping at any pieces of downforce that they can get. Yeah, that's probably a better answer to your question. But, yeah, well, thanks for pointing it out in the chat. Charles, please make it through into Q3. Well, Charles has just put himself up into P3. Verstappen also, he did his hot lap. Still 2/10 back from Norris. Sainz comes across the line. He's 1 millisecond behind Max Verstappen. Wow. Very, very close there between those two drivers. In fact, the closest that it can be without them getting duplicate lap times. But Norris still 2/10 clear of everyone else. That is fantastic. Now, let's wait and see what Verstappen can do. Can he magic something up in Q3? It would be sensational because it is very clear that the Red Bull car is not the fastest car. It looks like for certain they are the second fastest car. Maybe even the third fastest because the Ferraris are right there. So if Verstappen can pull out some magic and put himself up into Q3, put himself up into P1, sorry, in Q3, that would be that'd be sensational. We're going to need another one of those Mexico-esque quali laps. Like that car is going to have to, not Mexico-esque, Saudi Arabia 2021. That's what we're going to need from Max Verstappen if he's going to get pole position today. All right, Kevin Magnussen, look at all of those purple mini sectors at the start of the lap. It looks like he got a toe off someone. He may have got a toe off his teammate. Haas may have planned that one. Oh, sorry, Nico Hulkenberg got a bunch of purple mini sectors. K-Mag is also doing very nicely on his lap. And 8th position for Kevin Magnussen. All right, Russell gets a bit of a toe there. Double yellow. Ooh, someone's going slowly. That is Tsunoda. With 10 seconds left on the clock, we've got a red flag given out. And that's the end of the session, folks. Drivers eliminated are Tsunoda, Lawson, Alonso, Stroll, and Bottas. And Tsunoda's binned it into the barriers at turn number 12. Not too big of an impact, but it's not going to matter anyway because he's not made it through into Q3. Yeah. All right. Turn number 12. There was a bit of runoff area and he's crashed into that. Q2 will not be resumed. We've just got the message from the FIA. Q3 might be ever so slightly delayed rather than starting in 4 or 5 minutes time. It's going to start probably in 10 minutes time, but was Lawson faster? I mean, Lawson was quicker in the first sector, but both drivers had pretty identical lap times in their first run of Q2. So, yeah, I don't think that Tsunoda crashed so he could stay ahead of Lawson. I think Tsunoda just made a genuine mistake going into turn number 12. Damaged his front left suspension. Maybe his rear right maybe his rear left suspension also. But he's out of the car. He's fine. They're going to pick the car up on a crane. And we should be good to go for Q3 in a couple of minutes. All right, just watching the replay here with Yuki Tsunoda. Okay. He got onto the curbs while braking. His rear tires were touching the curb when he got onto the brakes, and a big lock up there for his left side tires. Front left and front right both locked up, I think. And his car just spun around. A slight misjudgment there. Normally the drivers tried to brake on the white line. Tsunoda braked on the curbs, and the car went spinning round. A very easy mistake to be made, but a very big price that is also paid. All right. Do you think they should change the last turn more so the first straight can be more useful? Even now the DRS, there is no battle on the first straight due to traction problem at turn number 17. No, I don't think there's that big of a traction problem at turn number 17. In fact, last year what we saw was because the drivers got DRS, they would just breeze past the other drivers before going into turn number 1, and there would be no battling whatsoever. However, the FIA, to rectify that issue, they've shortened the length of the DRS zone down the main straight. So previously it was 165 meters off the exit 165 meters off the exit of turn number 17. Now it's been increased to whatever 165 plus 75 is, 240 meters, I think. It's been 240 meters off the exit of turn number 17 now. So essentially, the drivers are going to get a little bit less DRS going down the main straight, but that should mean that the drivers are side by side going into turn number 1 rather than just breezing past the other driver, and we'll get some good action, some good dive bombs, some good side by side racing, and yeah. All right, so yeah, Tsunoda will start in P11, Gasly will start P12. Not Gasly, Lawson will start P12, and the drivers that managed to sneak it through into Q3, Albon, Hulkenberg, K-Mag, and Gasly. Of course, we had the 2 eliminations of Piastri and Perez, so that's opened up 2 more slots at the bottom of the top 10, and Albon, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and Gasly fill those slots up. I mean, very nicely done from Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. They have the Haas car is getting quicker and quicker, and that's fantastic for them. But we'll see how much longer that lasts, really. With the new regulations coming on, they've got a partnership now with Toyota as well. So, I mean, actually, things are on the up for Haas. So maybe we'll see them compete. best. They I think in 2018 was probably their peak. I think 2018 they were best of the rest, fourth fastest car on the grid. Now you could probably put Haas as fifth fastest car on the grid, but they are still quite a big chunk behind the Mercedes and the Ferraris of the Formula One world. Right. Do you think the FIA will change the first Apex rule while overtaking in Kota after the Kota fiasco? Well, I don't think so. I don't think the FIA should change the rules. They should change something. However, I don't think the FIA are actually going to do anything. So yeah, I don't have very high hopes, honestly, for the FIA. I don't think of them very highly. Um, bit of a joke, really. From That's what my opinion is. So yeah, we have a red flag because Tsunoda's crashed at turn number 30, turn number 12. Um, they've got the car out from the crane already, and we'll have Q3 getting underway very very shortly. It has been delayed in the start of Q3, but yeah, Yuki took too much curb, hit the brakes on the curbs, in fact, and that cost him that caused him to spin around and go into the barriers. Do you think Aston are one of the worst three times in this Grand Prix, possibly second worst, just below Alpine? I mean, Aston's have made it through into Q2, and the Alpines. I mean, Gasly made it through. Ocon got eliminated in Q1, so I don't know. Aston Martin probably third slowest. Um, it's a little bit too variable, really. The midfield pack. So one weekend Racing Bulls are quick, one weekend they're not. One weekend Alpine are quick, one weekend they're not. So I can't say with any sort of certainty that Aston Martin are the third fastest because it changes so often. Did you get the play button? Yes, I did. The play button arrived, I think, earlier this month. So yeah, thank you, folks. I did get the 100, the silver play button. In fact, we're getting pretty close to 110k subscribers here. We're 700 subscribers off. All right. Aston Martin is totally relying on Newey to do miracles in 2026. Oh, for sure. Aston Martin have had positive developments in the past. They always start the season very strong. However, their mid-season upgrades just never seem to work, and they just go backwards and backwards as the season progresses. So, yeah, I mean, also there might be there's of course the factor that Aston Martin don't bring as many upgrades as the rest of the teams. And they are very much focused on, we'll develop for next year. And, that works very well at the start of the season, where their first 4 or 5 races, they are fantastically quick. But then after that, their development trails off and their pace also trails off. So, yeah. Will Tsunoda be in the main race? Oh, of course, yeah. It's a very minor issue, and they'll resolve it very, very soon. Right. Do you think Charles is going to compete in the Driver Championship? Well, I think Charles may get second place off Lando Norris, if I'm being honest. Lando Norris, I mean, that being said, McLaren, Norris, it may probably get pole today. But Leclerc is on 275 points, Norris on 297 points. So, one bad race for Norris and one win for Leclerc. And Leclerc's, or one DNF for Norris and one win for Leclerc, and Leclerc's right up there in the fight. So I wouldn't count Leclerc out. And I've seen a lot of Ferrari fans, I think on Instagram and on r/Formula Dank, I've been on a little bit of hopium, really. If you look at the stats, Kimi Raikkonen in 2007 was around about this far back before he won his championship. So maybe you could say, Charles Leclerc is that far back also, and he's going to win the championship. Like, I'm sure there are many Ferrari fans that partially believe that could happen. But we'll wait and find out. It's definitely not a delusion. That's for sure. All right. What's happened? Q3 will, folks. We've just got the message from the race control. Q3 is starting in 4 minutes time. So 4 minutes, and we will be underway for Q3. Nothing to worry about. Yeah. All right. The track is clear, and Q3 will be resuming shortly. Very nice. All right. Track temperature has dropped quite a bit, in fact. It was earlier 45 degrees, now it's down to 35 degrees. So 10 degrees drop in track temperature, that's going to have a huge impact on how the tyres overheat over the course of the lap. We've seen, I've said this quite a few times, in fact, hopefully you guys aren't tired of hearing it. But yeah, if you do push too hard in the middle sector, your tyres overheat by the third sector and you lose a bunch of time. So with a 10-degree drop in track temperature, that is going to be much less of an issue. So the drivers do have the ability to just go all-out attack. And, all-out attack qualifying laps are a sensation to watch. So I'm pleased about that. Can we get an okie dokie? Well, there we go. Okie dokie for you. What happened to Yuki? Braking on the curbs, spun the car around and into the barrier as he went. But yeah, it doesn't matter now. There we go. Bottom five are the bottom five are eliminated. We've got the top 10 remaining for the start of Q3. We've got Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, the two Ferraris, the two Mercedes, the two Hasses, and Albon and Gasly. All right, 1 minute and 30 seconds till we get underway for Q3, folks. Not very long whatsoever. And also, thank you for the 10,000 people that are watching the live stream. Very much is appreciated. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. It massively helps out the channel. Right, here we go then. All right. Folks, do let me know what your predictions are. Who do you think is going to get pole? Is it going to be Lando Norris? Is it going to be Verstappen? Or are we going to see something magical from Leclerc or Sainz? The Ferraris seem to be pretty identical in terms of pace compared to Verstappen. They're not that far back. Sainz, in fact, in Q2 had a lap time that was 1 millisecond behind Verstappen's lap time. So the Ferraris do have the pace here. And I've been talking a little bit about how Verstappen could pull out a special lap, but that's equally possible that Leclerc and Sainz could pull out a special lap. We've seen this quite often with Leclerc. Sometimes he can put together some incredible laps in qualifying. So this might be one of them. All right, there we go. The timer is ticking, and we have got 12 minutes of Q3 ahead of us. All of the drivers sat in the pit lane. In fact, no, they're not. Max Verstappen makes his way out. First driver out of the pits. Very nice. In fact, some drivers have jumped the gun there, and K-Mag and Hulkenberg make their way out just before Max Verstappen gets to the exit of the pit lane. All of the drivers now, they will be crawling out of the pit lane so slowly because they do want to reduce that tire temperature because and some of you may ask and may rightfully think, oh, if they want to reduce tire temperature, then why do they use the tire blankets at all? Why don't they just switch off the tire blankets before they go out for their laps? And the answer to that is there are two aspects of the tire. There is the core of the tire, and there is the outer layer of the tire. And it is very critical to have the core of the tire be warm, and you want the outer layer to be sort of not totally freezing or cold or whatever, but you ideally when you're starting your lap, you probably want it to be 80 degrees. The optimum is around 95 to 100 degrees, but if you start your lap at 80 degrees, you can overheat your tires and increase the temperature over the course of the lap, and by the time you get to the end of the lap, you still have enough ability to push. However, if you turn off the tire warmers, then the core temperature of the tire starts to drop. And if the core temperature drops, then the tires aren't as malleable as they should be, and they don't flex as much as they should. They don't stick to the road as well as they should, and that is a total loss of grip. So that's the reason the teams actually still use the tire warmers, even though that they want cold tires when they're starting their quali laps. Yeah. This is one of the tracks where being P3 is ideal, something similar to Sochi. Yes, that is also a very good point. I haven't brought that up so far, but this circuit, as you can see, the start-finish line is right at the start of the straight, and then you have an enormous straight, a nearly 1 kilometer of a drag race going down towards turn number 1 there. I think it's 800 and something meters or 900 and something meters before you hit the braking, but before you hit the apex of turn number 1, and yeah, a slipstream going down the main straight is actually very beneficial. So we could see, Norris end up on pole, but then lose the lead straight away because Verstappen has slipstream past him going towards turn number 1. So let's wait and see what happens we'll keep an eye out, and that's a question for tomorrow, really. But for now, we're going to see who's got the most pace, because if you've got good quali pace, you're going to have good race pace, and you may be able to overcome a bad start or overcome getting slipstream past on lap number 1. Alright then, we've got Max Verstappen pushing very, very hard. The car is looking so stable as he makes his way through the middle sector. DRS flap wide open, and now he heads towards turn number 12. And Russell gets out of the way nicely, and Verstappen is using the track all the way to its limits. He misses the apex ever so slightly as he goes through turn number 14, but a very minor mistake there for Verstappen, and as he now comes across the line, it is a 16.3 for Verstappen, 1.2 seconds faster than the Haas cars. That is incredible, the pace that he's got there. Lando Norris is on a flying lap here, and let's see what he can do. He comes across the line, he's half a second back. I mean, maybe he wasn't pushing as hard, but yeah, an incredible lap from Verstappen there. And he had pace in the middle sector, pace in the final sector, even though he was pushing all lap long. Albon across the line, third place for him. He's a second back. Wow, look at that gap that Verstappen pulled. That is an incredible lap that he did. Leclerc managed to go quicker in the first sector. Sainz managed to go quicker than Leclerc in the first sector. Leclerc just improves on his personal best, not quicker than Verstappen in the middle sector. Let's see what Sainz can do. Sainz very close to being quicker than Verstappen. In fact, Sainz looks to be the quicker of the two Ferraris this weekend. He got second place last weekend, but maybe this weekend he will get ahead of Leclerc. Leclerc's a fantastic final sector. And here comes Carlos Sainz out of the final corner. Verstappen, lap time deleted. Ooh. Carlos Sainz, first place for him. He goes quicker than Verstappen's time, and Verstappen has got his lap time deleted, folks. He's currently in second place, but look at that. Drops back down to 8th. He cut the corner at turn number 2. We saw Leclerc do it on his previous lap in Q2. Now Verstappen has done it, and he is back down to 10th. Lando Norris is absolutely nowhere. The McLarens look to be the fastest car on the circuit in Q3. Not in Q3, in Q2 and in FP3. But Q3 has rolled around. The Ferraris are in 1-2. The Mercedes are in 3-4. Verstappen's got a lap time deleted, and Norris is in 5th position in what looks like to be the fastest car on the grid. Why was it deleted? He cut the corner at turn number 2. So turn number 2, you turn right for turn number 1, you turn left for turn number 2, and Verstappen just started turning ever so slightly early. Probably I'd say around, I don't know exactly, but probably a split second too early for turn number 2, and because of that he was 30 centimeters over the curb and not touching the white line, and because of that he was getting his lap time deleted. All right. If we have a look at the track dominance, Sainz is quicker than Norris everywhere in the lap except the sequence of corners between turn number 7 and 11. So Sainz quicker everywhere compared to his former teammate. And it looks like McLaren have got slightly more downforce. Maybe if they can go quicker in the middle sector, and they're slower everywhere else, then maybe a lack of downforce, or maybe too much downforce, is what McLaren have got. Yeah, he did the exact same thing Charles did. Yeah, Charles made that exact same mistake in Q2. Verstappen has just done the exact same thing. It's a duplicate replay essentially, but you've just taken the Ferrari livery off and put the Red Bull livery on. All right, so this is going to be the final runs of Q3, and Verstappen had set a very good lap. He did exceed track limits to set that lap, but nonetheless, a very quick lap. And even then, Sainz was quicker than him. So, yeah, Verstappen is going to have to pull out everything if he wants to get pole this weekend. Norris is going to have to do the same as well. They've brought a floor upgrade. The car seems to be super quick, but I don't know where Norris's pace has gone because it has disappeared from existence by the looks of it. And Carlos Sainz, he held a super tight line there. Normally, the drivers don't pull as tight of a line going across the final corner, but because turn number 17 is quite a long radius corner, it's beneficial to actually hold the inside line so you have the shortest distance to the start-finish line. And Sainz was on like really close to the inside line, kicked up a load of dust as well. We normally don't see the drivers do that. Normally they go to the inside line, but then also drift out a little bit. But yeah, we'll see if that. I don't think that was a significant contributing factor. I think Sainz was just super quick in all parts of the circuit, and yeah. All right, folks, let me know what your predictions are. I mean, before the start of the Quali Q3 session, I would have said Norris is on pole, but this time I'm a little bit more uncertain. Maybe it's going to be the Ferraris, maybe it's going to be Norris, maybe it's going to be Verstappen. This is going to be hard. What are the Ferrari's tyre ages? Well, I can tell you for certain, everyone is going to be out on a fresh set of soft tyres. Nobody is going to be using old softs because it is the final runs of Q3 now. Okay. Where do you think Aston Martin will have to draw the line with Stroll with Newey coming on board? Surely he has no excuses now. I think Aston Martin will draw the line if, say, Aston Martin are competing for the championship and Lance Stroll is driving like Sergio Perez. If Alonso's winning every race and Stroll's down in 8th and 9th and 10th position and Aston Martin don't win the constructors as a result, then that's probably where they'll draw the line. And even then, I don't really know because Lawrence Stroll has a huge influence over the team. He is basically, if Aston Martin becomes a top team, it will basically be down to the fact that Lawrence Stroll has injected so much money into the team that could happen. He would still have a huge say on whether his son still drives in Formula 1. And I'm sure his say will just be, I'm going to keep my son in Formula 1 just because he can. All right, so here it is. We've got all 10 drivers, in fact, 8 drivers out onto the circuit. Russell and Hamilton still sat in the pit lane. Now, of course, you do have to be careful. The later you go out, the more likely you are to get disrupted by a yellow flag ahead of you. We've seen quite a few crashes here in free practice 1 and 2, and through the middle sector, a crash is very, very likely. So, well, not very likely, but it's the most likely part of the circuit where you're going to have a crash. And if there's a yellow flag through there, your lap is disrupted, and it's game over for you essentially. So K-Mag and Hulkenberg start their flying laps, the first ones, and the last driver to come across the line will be Hamilton. So here we go then. Everyone is improving. K-Mag is improving. Nico Hulkenberg's improving. In fact, Hulkenberg has got a purple mini sector there. He is looking super racy as he now heads towards turn number 5 and 6. Okie dokes. We are now on board with Charles Leclerc, currently the driver in second place, and is looking well, gets over those curbs so well. The car is absolutely planted, foot flat to the floor as he exits turn number 3. DRS wide open. Now he hits the brakes at the 70-meter mark. He is ever so slightly up on his teammate, half a tenth up through the first sector. Now he makes his way through turn number 5 and 6, hits that double apex very nicely. And now onto the power once again. The car twitching ever so slightly, but that's not going to lose him too much time. Now the critical part of the lap, the middle sector with the S's, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Charles Leclerc deals with them absolutely perfectly, and now he's got the final DRS zone and the stadium section left. He opens that DRS flap, doesn't make a mistake like Tsunoda braking on the curbs, and he is marginally up on his teammate. He is 24 milliseconds up on his teammate. He's got the final sector left to do. If he can nail this, he'll get up onto provisional pole. Let's see what he can do. He's purple in the first sector, but Carlos Sainz is purple in the first sector, actually, and Carlos Sainz purple in the second sector. Leclerc comes across the line. He is 2/10 down on his teammate. A terrible final sector. Sainz goes across the line. He improves once again, half a tenth up. He has a terrible final sector also, just like his teammate, but he's half a tenth up on his previous lap. And Verstappen across the line, it's only second place. He extracted all of the pace that he could, had a fantastic final sector. But still, only second place for Max Verstappen. And compared to Sainz, he lost a bunch of time in the first sector. Norris across the line, third place for him. And we could see Carlos Sainz on pole here. For the previous 7 years, we've seen a different pole sitter every single time. And actually, no, that's incorrect. I think we've seen Verstappen on pole twice, but it's now just down to Russell and Hamilton. Can they change the pecking order up? Russell goes across the line. It's 5th place for him. He improves, but not enough to change positions. And Hamilton is in 6th place, and he comes across the line. And it's still 6th place for for Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz is on pole position. What a qualifying session. Carlos Sainz on pole, Verstappen in 2nd, Norris in 3rd, and tomorrow's race start is going to be mind-blowing, folks. It's going to be sensational. Going down from the starting grid, 700, 800 meters of a drag race towards turn number 1. Carlos Sainz versus Verstappen versus Norris versus Leclerc. The front row is we're going to have maybe 4 wide going into turn number 1. This is going to be fantastic. And, you know, to think of this, Ferrari have kicked out Carlos Sainz. Wow. Carlos is you know, looking to bounce back. Obviously, get 2nd place after a Ferrari 1-2 last weekend. Looking to bounce back, and he has done so in fantastic fashion. Alright folks, we've got, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been spectacular commentating to you guys. My throat is doing much better than before, so I'll be a-okay to commentate for tomorrow. I'm going to end the stream now. Have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening or night, depending on where you are in the world. I'm going to, once I end the stream, it'll take you over to the race stream for tomorrow. Just go ahead and press the like button on the race stream. It hugely helps out the channel. And press the reminder button as well. But that has been it from me. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And I'm going to see you tomorrow for a spectacular Mexican Grand Prix. So yeah, just hit the like button and the reminder button for tomorrow's stream. And I'll see you in, I think, 21 hours or so. Yeah, 21 hours. All right. Cheers, fellas. Yeah, cheers, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.